Welcome to Bus Driver Life. I drive public transit buses. As a matter of fact, I'm driving this bus today. So this video is all about public transit bus operators versus motor coach operators.
Get some help.
So sometime back, I was featured on the amazing YouTube channel called Motorcoach World. Shout out to James at Motorcoach World. And in that particular video, I decided to leave a comment thanking James from Motorcoach World for shouting me out. And in the comment, I said, thanks so much for the shout out. I'm honestly honored. It's cool to see this subject from the perspective of a motorcoach operator. I definitely hate when people think I'm trying to race them. Clearly, a car can go faster than a bus or a motorcoach. I'm just trying to get to my destination safely. LOL, great video. Then somebody responded to my comment with something completely out of context, something that had nothing to do with what I just commented to James at Motorcoach World. And that comment says, I get transit operators who think because the sign says bus only, that means transit only. There's a street in downtown Seattle that is bus only. When I drive on it during the day, they have a cow.
Don't have a cow, man.
So I'm assuming maybe this person recognized that I was a transit bus operator, so they used this moment to vent their frustrations towards the transit operators in Seattle, Washington, to me. So do I personally think that bus-only lanes within cities are only for public transit buses? Well, typically they are designed with the transit system that serves that local area in mind. However, I believe that motorcoach drivers should also be able to utilize the bus-only lanes. Why not? As a matter of fact, it's really tough for motorcoach bus drivers because when they are transporting a group to a location, especially in the congested downtown areas, as mentioned in this comment towards me about downtown Seattle, because I see it all the time here in Sacramento, the motorcoach drivers really have nowhere to go a lot of times. It's very congested and crowded. There's not a lot of parking, and they just have to figure it out on the spot. Whereas me, a transit bus driver, I have a predetermined route that I travel. But of course, in downtown areas, that gets messed up too, because whenever there's special events, they block off so many of the roads that we have to go on detours and figure out how to get around and navigate and go all around and zigzag around all these detours and whatnot. But let's take a look at Seattle, because the person who vented their frustrations to me in that comment, they were specifically talking about bus-only lanes in downtown Seattle. So are they intended or designed with all buses in mind, or just transit buses in mind? Let's find out. And keep in mind, I'm not saying that motorcoach buses should not use these lanes. I already said that they should be able to use them. And as a matter of fact, they need to use them because there's like nowhere to go. So this article here says bus-only lanes being added to Rainier Avenue to increase reliability and save time. The Seattle Department of Transportation, SDOT, will be creating more bus-only lanes along the Rainier, am I saying that right? Probably not, Avenue corridor. Scheduled to start in July, the lanes are being put in place to help people keep riding transit, moving more reliably, and separating buses from other vehicles. Especially in heavy traffic, bus-only lanes reduce travel times for people riding transit. Oh, here goes something else from Seattle.gov. It says transit lanes in Seattle. Transit lanes are travel lanes in the street that can only be used by transit, such as buses and streetcars. Some transit lanes can only be used by transit 24 hours a day, while other transit lanes are only restricted to transit during specific times of the day or days of the week. Signs and markings on the street indicate if/when transit lanes can be used by other vehicles, including for parking. Most transit-only lanes allow people driving other vehicles to enter the lane to make right turns at intersections or to turn into driveways. So as you can see, the bus lanes or the transit lanes are intended and designed around the public transit system that serves that area. However, do I think it's okay for the bus driver, the transit bus operator, to get mad at the motorcoach operator for utilizing the lane? No, we have to work together. We have to understand the challenges that a transit bus operator as well as a motorcoach operator will face in a congested downtown area. I've never driven for a motorcoach company. However, I used to drive school buses and we would do charters. We would take kids a lot of times on field trips. trips. And this is back when I lived in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So guess what? When we would take kids into downtown Milwaukee, it was very crowded and congested. And sometimes we would park at public transit bus stops. We would try to park there temporarily because we understood that the buses have to get in and out of those bus stops, the transit buses. And sometimes they would find places for us to park that were not transit bus stops, but sometimes it was just almost impossible to find anywhere to park the school buses when we were doing these field trips. So from that experience alone that I've had, I have a lot of compassion and understanding for motorcoach drivers when they're trying to find a place to park or find somewhere to go. But then the challenge with a public transit bus driver is we need those stops and we need to be able to pull up to the curb so we can lower our bus, especially for those senior citizen passengers and passengers with disabilities. And we have to be able to let the ramp out at the curb so that people with wheelchairs and things of that nature can have a relatively level boarding area. And what happens sometimes, even here in downtown Sacramento, is some stops will be occupied by a motor coach. Now, did the driver of that motor coach or that tour bus, did they do that on purpose? Were they there to say, oh, I'm going to make these transit bus drivers upset? No, that was probably the only place that they can park. So whether you're driving a school bus, a transit bus, or a motor coach, that's part of the challenges that we face, especially when we're trying to navigate congested, crowded downtown areas. And sometimes it can cause conflicts. But I think the important thing to do is for us to all understand the individual challenges that we have, whether we're providing public transit or chartering a private group. We have to understand the challenges that we have and just try our best to work together and to accommodate each other, because at the end of the day, we're on the same team. And speaking of motor coach operators, make sure you subscribe to Motorcoach Life. She makes amazing content. Make sure you subscribe to Captain John. He makes amazing content. And you're probably already subscribed to Motorcoach World. James makes amazing content. So let me know what you think in the comments below. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. And thank you for watching Bus Driver Life. Was that corny, me pointing to my hat? That was kind of lame. Was that cringy?
Yes.